Hello?
Yes,
Yeah, it's okay. So, how are you, Mansi?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm good. Always good. You seems like a student, right?
Yeah, right now I'm a student also, and I am teaching also.
Teaching in a teaching in some academy or in a school or in a college.
It's not a college, it's an academy. We can say that the institute.
Hmm. Institutes which provide tuitions, sort of, I think.
As an English trainer.
In IELTS Institute? Arey wah. So that way you are guru in English. Hmm? And you are
Yeah,
on this platform. You might already be excelling in your field, because if you are giving tuitions or coaching in this subject, so definitely your conversation might be of the advanced level, I guess.
yeah, it's not too much advanced, but it's not too much a low also because I am practicing also and still learning also. And by the bless of the God, someone give me opportunity for teaching, so I just join it.
Nice, very good.
And I
So
will
that
try to my
way you are honing your communication skill. You are doing both the things simultaneously. At one
yes.
end you learn and you deliver the same content at the other end, right? It's okay. It happens sometimes whenever we are chatting with each other, because the
Yeah.
people around us, they don't know what we people, we are going along with all this stuff.
Okay, so ma'am, what are you doing? Please tell me about yourself because it's very important for me and the viewers also. So please tell me about yourself.
Okay, you may say I'm into the arena of education, and I have been directly into teaching for so many years. But now, for the last almost 10 years, I'm on the administrative post. You may say now the direction of chair has turned. From one side of the table, I have gone to the other side of the table. So this is
Wow.
a difference. Yeah.
Okay, so just tell, do you want to ask any question about the English? Because I have a lot of question for you.
Okay, then you continue with your questions, because we have already started our session very late.
Yeah.
And you are a young girl, you might not be having other responsibilities in the family to look after. But I have so much of the stuff to take care of. But though I also didn't want to give it a miss, because whenever I get the opportunity, rather I also keep on exploring such opportunities, because you understand it very well. Like in your case, you are already teaching in some institution. But otherwise, we people don't find this kind of environment where we get the opportunity to talk to somebody in English, or if ever we get it, that is only just to converse with the minimal words and for a limited span of time. So you
Yeah.
just let me know whatever you want to ask me. You can go ahead with that,
Okay.
because otherwise we can have this conversation in some second part, because of this time constant today only.
Okay, no issue. So, ma'am, as you mentioned me, you are doing a work like a educational field. So, what is your experience about the English? I mean to say, what is the more important for covering this language? As I am teaching in my institute, like that, the grammar and the lot of topic, lot of activities I am conducting. But what is your experience? What is the main topic about the grammar? About the anything which is very important for learning this language?
Actually, whenever you talk about language, grammar is always the backbone of any language. But the thing is, when we converse in our regional languages, we don't find that sort of difficulty, because we are born with that instinct. Then we grow up with that environment all the time around us. So we never get to know at what moment we caught up all the words related to English, whether it was a grammar or vocabulary. But because when we talk about English as a language, I guess we all have started thinking about it when we reach at a certain level in life. Because otherwise, if it would have been started from the zero level, then we wouldn't have been on this platform. It is obvious. So what I normally feel that like you are younger, much younger, or I have started this journey now. We are facing so many problems, but now coming back to you, the answer to your question, everything. Now, if you are suppose uh, teaching the students, this you are giving IELTS coaching. I mean, you understand it very well. All the modules are very important. You should excel in writing, reading, speaking, listening, everything. So when you, because that forms the language in totality. So when we talk about something in totality, every variable is important. So grammar is very important. Like if I give my example, I know what are the flaws inside me. I always make mistakes. I think when we are to use these what we call prepositions. So it means grammar, because grammar, okay, if we have to sum it up into two words, one is grammar, another is vocabulary, and both are very important.
Yeah,
Yes,
I agree.
initially you can begin talking, you can begin conversing with making mistakes. Like we people used to say this thing on this platform that okay, there is no harm in making mistakes, because we people do make mistakes when we converse in our own language. But the problem with English is when we converse in English, we start pointing out the mistakes. And whenever we are conversing in our regional language, we try to give it a miss. We never acknowledge, we never point it out, we never judge anybody that the person has made mistakes. So this is the only difference. Yes, le- for English, every aspect of it is important. Like we can't say that grammar is not important. Grammar is equally important. But yeah, if we are to give, if I have to give advice to somebody, I would say hardly matters if you don't know grammar. Start conversing. Once you get into the flow, like I'm into the flow, once you attain your excellency in the flow, automatically you start incorporating, maybe initially with intention, and slowly the things become an automatic, auto generated kind of part, becomes a part of your conversation.
Yeah, I totally agree with this thing. Grammar is most important. You know what? Earlier I have watched a lot of videos. There's a lot of trainer who just give the no, grammar is not important, and they just give me an example. If any student, like any kid, if want to if speak a very well, because he is studying in an English medium school and they are not teaching a proper grammar, but they are speaking a well. So how can it possible? So on that time, I just thought no, yeah, that is right, but I'm just that's why I'm asking this question to you. Grammar is important, but in my opinion, yeah, grammar is totally important because I cannot make any sentence without the help of grammar. Because and as you mentioned the preposition, yeah, I also do the mistake right now about the preposition because I don't have any idea where we can use of, and there's some mistake is also happened with us also. So yeah, I agree with this. Grammar is important, and the second thing is your step is a vocabulary. Vocabulary is also most important, but in this time we all are using a very beautiful idiom in our conversation. So have you have any trick about the how can we learn idioms? We can learn easily idiom, but we cannot use idiom in our conversation. So have you any trick about the idiom?
Whether you talk about any word, any vocabulary word, or you talk about idioms, only one rule applies. The best thing is you start with two or three at a time. But again, you will have to remain conscious all the time. Like when suppose might be, but not exactly, but might be. Sometimes begin with some conversation, and before the conversation, I try to keep this thing in my mind that now during this talk show, I'm not going to use these two or three typical words. I'm going to use some advanced kind of words which are already there in my notebook or inside my mind. But once we start conversing, a number of times we used to forget. Reason again is the similar one that in a whole day, suppose I'm taking 2 sessions. You might be taking more. You might be teaching to the student for 4 or 5 hours. Here comes the difference. Because just sitting for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes can't, solve a purpose. So there is no trick, there is no shortcut as much as you talk. That is the only key. Practice is the only key. There is no other way out. Rest
Yeah.
of the thing is would be like just beating around the bush.
Yeah.
That would be like that only.
Yeah, practice is very important for doing
Yes.
anything. So if we do practice for learning this language, so make sure one day we will become a fluent. So that was the question of my all student, ma'am. How can we use the vocabulary in our sentences, because there's a too much vocabulary, there's a too much idiom. So I always suggest, no, you have to just do practice over and over. While do a practice over and over, to make sure you will be perfect after a coming time.
Your question is how to learn so much of the words, vocabulary words.
Sorry.
What is your question? That how to learn so many of the vocabulary words?
No, no, I'm not saying this. Sorry. I'm just saying to you that the question of my students, they always asked me, ma'am, how to learn and how to use these words in our conversation, because we always use a very basic sentence, very basic words in our conversation. Because I learned a lot of words, but I am unable to use. So that I always suggest that the person, no, you just use over and over. When you
Yeah,
use
over
over.
and suppose we use the word very or very curious. Very we used to say instead of saying very curious, we can say inquisitive. But you will have to keep this thing in mind consciously. That now this time I know I'm not going to say very curious. I'm going to say I'm too inquisitive. So you will have to use your mind consciously. Only then it would be possible. But take one step in one. You take the steps one by one.
Yeah.
Just begin with one word. Like okay, like suppose you are too inquisitive. You are too curious. Your students are too curious. So just guide them that today instead of curious, you people are going to use the word inquisitive and make them learn 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 sentences. Make 10 sentences why you are inquisitive, in what form you are inquisitive, to know what. So I think that is the practice. Again, it will end up with the on the word practice only.
Yeah, again, this
Yeah.
last thing is that we have to do practice. That's it.
Practice is the only key. I
Yeah.
told you there is no because I have seen in my this whole span. Though I started my journey just a couple of months back, but throughout my life, we have always been familiar with English. Though not the conversational English, but we all have studied English as a subject up to some standard, some level. So it has never been that it is some, you can say, alien kind of stuff that we have just been introduced recently. No, we have been introduced with it long back. But the issue is that we never practiced it. So again, so we are on this platform just to do that part of the thing which we didn't do at that time. So we didn't do it that time. Now we are here to practice in this form, in this way.
Yeah, because if we don't practice right now, so that show I will be forget.
That-
Because
If suppose you take 2 sessions a day and you are taking sessions for 4, 5 or 6 days consecutively, and due to some issues or some limitations, next 2, 3 days you are unable to continue with it. You see what happens the third day. 50% of the stuff might have gone out of your mind
yeah, this is
because
right.
we are in the initial stage. It is like learning swimming, cycling, or driving. Initial phase is very important. Once the things become a component of your inside self, your inner self, then there is no need to repeat it. Like suppose if I don't know, you know driving or you know swimming, but the persons who do swimming or like I do driving. So there was a time, there was that phase of my life when it was a kind of thing that I can never learn driving in my life. I consider learning driving the biggest achievement of my life because throughout my youth period, I grew up with that feeling I can never learn driving. But once, due to any circumstances, I was to drop my child to the crash for babysitting, etc. So some of the things happened, but within 15 or 20 days, I used to focus on the road, not focusing on driving. Automatically, driving skill became a part of my routine practice. And now is the stage that I'm sitting on the driving seat, and for 2 hours I'm on the driving seat, and I only become conscious when my car is I'm parking my car outside the gate of my home. And throughout the my journey, I'm busy on dealing with different stuff, making different phone calls, important phone calls, conversing with people, solving many issues while driving. At that time, I never think of when to apply the brakes and when to apply the clutch and when to change the gears, because now it has become a part of my daily instinct. The similar thing is with the language. Initially, you need to be very conscious, but once that phase of a month or 2 months or 5 months, depending upon our level of English, once we are through that phase, I think after that there is no issue. Then it will become a component for for our personality for the rest of our life.
Yeah, such a great example because of your. So, last question I would like to ask you here: if any person a beginner, then how much time? Sorry, then how much time they have to cover for learning this language?
It depends upon the goal of the person, that in how much time the person want to achieve the goal, want to accomplish his or her goal. If the person want to finish it in a month, so it is like setting your timetable when you are a student, when you have to sit for an exam. And if you know that you have to complete your 15 chapters in one go, then you will set your timetable accordingly, that in a day I have to devote 1 or 2 or 3 hours, because I have to just cram or learn or understand my 15 chapters. And if you are done with your 10 topics and only 5 subject or papers are left, so you will start decreasing your time schedule. Similar thing applies while learning a language. If suppose I belong to a basic level learner, I can't make even a single sentence without error. It means I need to give more sitting initially, because if I won't be giving more sitting, I will forget it immediately also. It's a general rule. Once suppose you are a student, and or if you are it as a teacher, I consider you as a teacher, your students are sitting in the class. It is a general rule. We all have grown up listening this thing, that if you don't focus, by the time you leave the class, 80% of the stuff is gone out of your mind,
Yeah,
isn't it? And when you reach home, you will have to revise everything, because you are left with just 20% of the stuff which was taught by your teacher in the class. So the person has to make out what is his or her level, and in what span of time the person wants to achieve his or her goal. If person has no time constant, okay, whatever time it's going to take, I want to enjoy, I want to hang up with my friends, I have to go out to watch movies, I have to play games on my PlayStation, etc. So everything, everything is connected with the other component.
if any person just want to learn our English, so they just have to focus their work. If they are not focusing their work, so they are not able to speak in English within a month, and there should have a reason behind, and reason should be a very solid, then you can just learn it.
Definitely, sure.
Yeah.
Because your how much time you devote, how much, not only the time, how much you are focused on learning. Like if somebody makes you sit under compulsion, then outcome is going to be near to zero. But if you do anything with your passion, you make it your a goal for your life, then you can achieve it earlier. So it all depends upon the mindset of the person concerned.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. It was very nice meeting to you because I have learned a lot of things from your side because it's very good for me because I'm also learning this time and teaching also. When I have to teach someone, then I just read the topic because I don't want to do any mistake because all students are same age of mine.
Because yeah, at your age, moreover, the stuff today is very smart. and students are always smarter than the teacher. So a teacher always need to be on the toes all the time. It's a very challenging job to be a teacher. It's not just a time pass or easy kind of thing.
No, this is
The
really not
mo-
a time. This
it
is
is
really
the most challenging job to be a teacher and to teach the students of your who are your age mates, you can say, who are already belong to your standard. So it then becomes a judge. Some number of times they become judgmental also.
yeah. They always try
So
to
this is
judge
the
me,
issue.
but that things never happened with me because I don't know why these things happen. My all students are very genuine. They always help me if I did any mistake. They always support me. No, let's next time we have to do just so. Just I'm trying and just I want to make my good journey for doing this types of work. So that's thing.
If you portray yourself as a learner throughout your life, wherever you are, then you nobody is going to judge you. Problem arises when we start having that feeling that I have attained the perfection.
Yes.
We make the mistakes at that very end and at this very moment when I'm sitting before you. So my simple answer would be, if you ask me, yes, Mansi, I'm just a learner like you,
Yes.
just with the difference of some age gap. There is no other difference. You are you're working to hone your communication skill. I'm also working on my communication skill. So that way we both are sailing in the same boat. So who is going to point out? Not we should point out the mistakes so that we may make the corrections of each other. But nobody is going to be judgmental in our case. So similar, if you try to maintain that kind of equation with your students, I think you will never face any that sort of problem in your life.
Sure. Okay, ma'am, do you want to ask anything? Because you have give all answer properly of my questions, so that's a very good thing for me. And
Actually, we can have these kinds of conversations for hours and hours and for days and number of times because we have so much of the stuff to share with each other. You as a student or you as a teacher, and what made you come up to this platform, why you have started working on honing, why do you feel that you need to work on your communication skill. So that way there is so much of the stuff which we can discuss about, but I think we must drop it at the moment because of the time constraint. But surely in future, whenever, if any, this sort of opportunity comes, then we would definitely plan about the topic beforehand so that we may discuss more and more about that topic, and would be able to use more vocabulary words associated with that situation or with that topic. So that would be more beneficial for both of us, I think.
yeah, that's a very good thing. Okay, ma'am, so I think we should wind up this session right now.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you, Bachi. God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, take care. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.